I think there were a number of features, weren't there, that we were particularly looking for. Reputation was important in the first instance, and the school that we knew was quite well rounded in terms of the academic side of things, and also whereby the extracurricular activities were really supported and encouraged. There was a lot to be said about the wraparound care that was available as well for us both working, to have the availability to bring the children in early and pick them up late without having to sort of book or go onto a waiting list in advance was really important for us to ensure that we had that continuity and security for them.
I think we were looking for the fact that also it was co-educational. So I think we have a son and a daughter, and the fact that they could both go to the same school. I agree with what you've said. I think it was an advantage, the fact that the school has an infant, a junior and a senior school, so the children can see their way all the way through to the end. And I'd also say that I think the school, for what you get from the school, is actually reasonable value for money. We looked at a few schools, didn't we, to begin with, and I think we came round and had a look at Nottingham High School. We got a good feeling from the teachers and the children that were part of those days. Again, I think the fact that it's convenient for us to some extent, but also the fact that the convenience of having the campuses co-located is nice. We've got children of different ages, so dropping those off. I think we felt that there was encouragement for the children to try and achieve at this school, and we've got experience. So our youngest is in the infant school at the moment, but our eldest has been through the infant school and just recently moved to the junior school, and we can see how he was prepared at the school for the environment of the junior school, which is a little bit more independent. And we thought that was really good because it was quite a supportive nature in the infant school. And so those were a lot of the qualities that drew us to coming here rather than going somewhere else.
Yes, we did with our eldest child. Our younger daughter was during the lockdown period, so the taste days weren't quite the same as what they were when we first attended with Cameron, our eldest. And it did help because you got to see the teachers in action, to see their interaction with the children, as well as experience the facilities as well. And I think all in all it helped reduce anxiety for those sort of first days starting at school, having already been in the environment, met the teachers and played using the facilities and resources that you already have here.
I think the taste days were really good actually, because I think for both of us, you want to see where you're sending your children at the end of the day. How it's arranged, the fact that there has been thought gone into the classrooms and the setup, and you can see also what children have done already, so you get a feel for how the children are going to work there. And I think for the children themselves, I think that's really important. They are only very young when they come here, and it's a bigger environment usually than most nurseries, so I think just giving them that experience. We've not had any problems with our children at all. They've taken to it really well, and I think that's partly because they've been introduced in quite a gradual way, and the Taster Days are part of that. I think one of the key things at Nottingham High Infant School is the high professional to student ratio. So we were trying to work this out, but we think it's probably about 1:7 or 1:8 with the teaching assistants and the teachers included. I think that means that the children get a really high level of focus. Every child's different, so some of them have strengths in one area, some of them have weaknesses in the other. The school's been really good, I think, at promoting the children and working on areas that they can develop. And there's obviously a vision or an aim, so and in my mind that is perhaps getting them to a level that's appropriate for the junior school, and they seem to do that really well. So having experienced that transition, our eldest child transitioned really well, and has flourished at the junior school, and I can see the same thing happening with our youngest child, where they're just developing the skills that they need to keep moving forward. I don't think that would be possible necessarily without the level of focus that the school offers.
Yeah, so I agree with all of that, and also the fact that the individual child is celebrated, and the fact that it is a diverse school, and that individualism is celebrated, encouraged and supported, I think really makes the children feel confident within their own selves as they're going through. I think it's all those reasons that we just described, wasn't it? The taster days and the pastoral nature of those very early weeks, and particularly, in the reception class, whereby the drop-offs were more of a soft drop-off, and parents were able to come into the classroom with the children for that first term or so, just to help them make a more smooth transition. And the fact that after they'd had their taster days and they started coming into the school, that gradually it was made, they were made to become more independent as that reception year went on, knowing that they had the teacher there welcoming them every morning. So I think having that gradual process, plus having someone welcoming you at the door every single morning, I think was the main thing that helped them settle from my perspective.
Our eldest is more confident and more willing to do things and push forward, and probably that was our first experience, which meant we didn't really have to think too hard about it. And then our youngest child is a little bit more reserved, that's just her nature. But she's fine. I don't think she's that reserved when she's in the class, to be honest, but just in the initial introduction. And that makes it a bigger transition from nursery to infant school. But the school have handled that really well. She's adapted very well to that, but she probably has needed some focus on that, to be honest with you, to help her get over that. And so we're very pleased that we chose the infant school at Nottingham High, because that's worked for us. I mean, I'd start by saying again, I think the high ratio of teacher or teaching assistant to pupil is really key. I think there's a real focus on pastoral care as well as academic achievement. So I can think of instances where the teachers have really looked after the individual child for whatever the need might be. Confidence, or one example is that our son, I would say, is not particularly, while he's confident, he's not particularly extrovert, so joining in drama or performances, for example, might not be his natural tendency. But while he was at the infant school here, he really got into that and ended up doing some sort of main role in a Christmas production, and things that I probably would have said that naturally he wouldn't have done, but obviously they managed to bring that out of him. And I think, again, that every child gets focused on. I think they're treated as an individual, and so therefore they excel at what they're good at, and they definitely improve at what perhaps they're not naturally so good at. And that's probably the point of a school, I imagine.
So I think the academic and the pastoral clearly go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. But from the academic side, the children, it is ingrained quite early on, that work ethic for the children, not to a point that it's really quite intense for them, but they understand what they have to do. It's obviously a routine that comes in every day into play, and the children therefore quite early on find it easy to sit down and concentrate, whereas if they hadn't had that level of focus, I don't think they would find it so easy to sit down for gradually longer periods of time to focus on the academic side of things. Yes,
yeah,
is the short answer to that. They both formed close groups of friends. I think prior to the lockdown situation happening, our son has formed a really close bond with a number of children within his year, and we've seen that carry on through despite the lockdown period. It was more difficult for our daughter, who started reception in the beginning of the lockdown period. Yes. And it has been more difficult to form friendships, simply because they haven't been doing so much outside of school, and in those early months they weren't all in the classroom together. But we can see now school's back into full flow, that those friendships are forming, and they are very close, and obviously encouraged by the teachers, but the teachers also encourage the children to mix outside of their immediate friendship group. And that to a certain extent happens as the years go on, the classes get mixed up a little bit. We know that the children are kept with one or two of their closest friends, but they're encouraged to branch out as they move into a different class group. Obviously, it's important to get to know other children and to get to befriend different personalities that are maybe a little bit outside their comfort zone initially.
I'd agree with that. I think the children do really enjoy it. I think they, children are children, aren't they? And if I offered them trampolining versus maths, they'd probably choose trampolining. But I think if they miss school for any period of time, they miss coming to school, and so that's a real sign. The other thing I'd highlight is there's obviously a way, a behaviour within the school. I've never really heard from our children, both of them, of any problems, any arguments, they seem to get on very well with all the other children, play together nicely, the classes work nicely. So there's just an understanding, I think, from a very early stage about acceptable and unacceptable behaviour, and because of that, I think it makes the school a very nice environment for all children. As I said, our children are different personalities, and they both thrive in the same school.
I'd definitely say to come to an open day and attend a taster day if possible, but also to visit other places so you can compare and contrast. I think it's difficult to know and to appreciate the facilities that are here if you've not seen it in other environments. And I think you've got to get a feel for a place before you sign your child up to go somewhere. It has to feel right for you as well. So I think to see the place in action and have the ability to compare it to other environments is really important.
I'd agree with that. I think you've got to come and experience it for your own confidence in terms of where your child's going. I'd also suggest just understanding the bigger school, because this is a great school in its own environment, the infant school, but it obviously leads on to other things. And I think the link and the relationship between those is one of its strengths, actually, that it's all building to greater levels of achievement as the children get older. So I think just understanding the whole school is really important.